G'day guys, Mac with the Outer Circle, and today we're looking at my Epic Armageddon. So I put open a poll, would be 2 weeks ago now, asking people, what did you want to see? Did you want to see me do an epic force? And people said yes. I then said, do you want to see Iron Warriors, Iron Hands, Ultramarines, Imperial Fists, or... I can't remember I think it was World Eaters was the other option. And people picked Iron Warriors. Now, believe it or not, I actually collected Iron Warriors back in Epic, in the old country, the 1990s and 2000s, I guess. And here are some of my original guys. Still on their awesome Goblin Green bases. So I have still got, I think, 3 stacks of those. Original Plastic Chaos on their bases, and further, I also happen to have my original Command set. This was a plastic base glued together by the finest of craftsmen, and then just, all plastic. So it's pretty cool for me to basically be going back and revisiting this project now, 20 years later, when I'm an adult and have money, which is something I didn't have when I first started playing Epic. So what have I got here? Well, we have the Primarch Perturabo with 1, 2, 3 Iron Circle. There would be 4, but the 4th one's leg didn't quite print out well enough. But I'll show them off in a minute. I've also got Iron Havocs here. I have 7 squads. I haven't printed the 8th off yet, and I've printed a Command Squad as well down here. I have 12 Land Raiders, and they're actually 3 squads of 4, with 2 Achilles Alpha and 2 Phobos Land Raiders. So these are unpainted. This is just a basic single sprayed paint from a hardware store base coat, and this was all printed in my Hell at 1, and as you can see, the detail's actually pretty damn nice considering. These were not printed in fine detail either. These were in, I think, 0.03 millimeter detail. So yeah, lovely little kit. It's been a pleasure, by the way, to go back and do these. I have Vindicators off to the side here. These are the Deimos pattern Vindicators. And you'd find many of these STLs online for free. There's a slight little bit of damage to the tracks underneath where I've pulled the build supports off. And you can see the little dots on the underside, but, well, it's on the underside. I didn't care. So I didn't have to do anything special with those, didn't shrink them down or anything. We have some laser Vindicators. Now these ones here, I've actually started to put the correct paint onto, and as you can see, there's actually tonal variations on this. Darker at the top, brighter silver at the bottom, with some brown and purple tones mixed throughout. You can definitely see them towards the rear half of the vehicle, as well as some sort of burnishing and shading around the muzzle of the weapon. And I've started to layer in yellow paint on the dozer blade so I can paint some hazard stripes onto it. Which you would see on the Typhons I printed off. So these I went in, taped them off, and actually did all those hazard stripes with my airbrush, as well as, again, burnishing around the barrel because the purples and golds really look nice on the barrel. This vehicle here is ready for the weathering pigments and battle damage. They will go onto the tracks, so they will no longer be bright silver. And on the side, we've even got the decal. It's not fully blended in yet because it hasn't been varnished over the top to seal the decal, and you can still see the edges of it. But otherwise, pretty damn cool. And again, you can see the tonal variation on the side of the hull, brighter towards the bottom, dullest towards the top, and a little bit of soot and such around the exhausts. Moving away from them, we have Legion Basilisks. I haven't printed off the crew. Don't know if I will yet, to be honest, because there's not much room in the back. But yeah, fun little unit. And like many of the others here, it's just in the raw, rough base coat. Hasn't been shaded or anything like that yet. I suppose you'll really notice the difference if I get one of our Vindicators and sort of put them side by side. You'll see some of the shading, simple shading differences. Probably doesn't show up very well on camera. Alright, I'll go larger scale. It'll be easier to see. I'll use one of my Aquators up the back. So there you go, that's the difference in tonal detail. Good transition into Aquators. So I've done all 3 variants of Aquator. As you can see, brighter silvers, darkers, and I've even done a black with a slight grey highlight to it, where the decal is recessed in, and a couple of hazard stripes up on top of the petard mortar launcher. Well, it's actually called the Spicular rocket launcher. I also have the Graviton variant here, which is rocking autocannons like a boss, and I'm eternally afraid I'm going to snap these off because I've already snapped several weapons because these vehicles are so small and finely detailed. And I also, up the very back, have some more bombards with actual bombards. Now you can see a slight misprint here. You can see a line going through. It happens, but not enough for me to care. And yeah, just some cool burnishing effects around the barrel and the upper hull, mixing some brown and purple tones in there to break up the monotony of silver. And these are also due to have some weathering pigments and such done to them. Up the front here, we have the Tormentor. Now, I'm probably going to reprint this one because I'm not happy with the scale. I went up to an 8mm scale on the Typhons to make them really stand out as super heavy tanks. You'll see that next to a Land Raider Achilles Alpha now, it's quite a bit bigger, considering it's based on the Spartan chassis. But I wanted them to actually look and feel like the old super heavies, so I wanted to have that sort of size and mass to them. The problem is, well, this Baneblade, for instance, Shadow Sword, the Tormentor is based upon, is printed in that old super heavy style, and whilst they do match up, it's somewhat underwhelming now. This was a really cool print though. So it has, first of all, it has a hatch in the back of it for Perturabo and the crew, but there is no way Perturabo is fitting into that, which is another reason to scale it up. And it's also got Legion iconography here, number 4, and the Iron Skull. So pretty damn cool, but it needs to be bigger. So I'll do a reprint of that. Maybe I'll give this away to a viewer. Find some Iron Warriors epic player, and they can have it. How's that for a deal? Iron Circle now. Let's show these guys. So it's going to be very hard because they're so small. So it's one there. These were interesting to print, we'll say. Being so small and mechanical. It's probably about as small as you'd want to print anything that's not had too much detail cut off it. Perturabo himself. Now I printed an extra Aquator, and I took the sort of trailing gear section at the back of the vehicle, which would be the nose on a Sicaran. Took this area, cut it off, and I glued that onto Perturabo's base to give him something to stand on. I could have done the Knight base like his 30k Incarnation in 28mm, but I thought this was just way cooler. So yeah, that's the Primarch. Now for infantry, we'll start with the command squad here. So this is, I have the Tech Marine, 2 Marines with melter guns, a Champion in the middle, and of course the Vexilia or Legion Ancient with the icon. Sort of matching my early 2000s attempt. So 12, 13-year-old me versus 33-year-old me. pretty cool. Of course, we also have the Iron Havocs themselves. So again, compare the pair. The Iron Havocs all armed with missile launchers in this instance. I think the cow's armed with autocannon in game, but whatever. Looks cool. What you can't see in the video, unless I put on a different lens, I zoom right in, they have little Iron Warrior symbols on their shoulders. They won't have enough detail to look as Iron Warriors emblems, but at a distance, they will. So what does one of these Marines actually look like up close? Well, that I can show you. Well, to some degree. So, here we have that squad of Space Marines, and there you go. One in Mark III armor next to them. So, seems a little bit taller, not quite as squat. They are very squat, the old models, sort of crouching, full diaper sort of look. People think Space Marines at 40k are squat. These guys' legs are the size of their backpacks. Shorter, actually. So yeah, that is the project so far. And it has been a real blast. And I'm glad you guys picked out Iron Warriors for me, because I'm having a ball. I gave you the choice of whether you're going to see this video, whether you're going to see what I'm basing. So I'll quickly allude to that now, because I'm hoping to release it later this week. But I'm doing a tutorial on how to do this kind of basing. This is a miniature from a one-page rules. So I'm doing a review on several files that have been sent through to me graciously by them at the moment. And this is one of the models that I printed and painted up. I think it was 2 hours from start to finish for this entire miniature. So very quick, all analog, just hand painted. The vibrant pink and the blending is actually not due to airbrush or anything special. It's actually, I have some old school magenta ink. So for those of you who've been in this for a while, you'll know exactly what that is. And this base here is done with pigments. So I will show you how to do some pigment basing. It's a really simple technique, and as you can see, it looks really good. I do understand it's bleached out a little bit in the light of the room, but well, it's a compromise between showing the dark silvers and something as bright as this miniature is here. But yeah, really cool models in that one-page rules range. So I guess that's a spoiler for the review when it drops, but not for a little bit. I'll explain more on that at a later stage, maybe? Let's see, I've got some more stuff here. So I printed some other Guardians, Egyptian Guardian models. So these will all be painted up, which is why it's taken me so long. It's been several weeks since I got the files, probably a month now. But I wanted to do reviews for things like the Epic and for one-page rules. I wanted to actually print them, show you the prints, and then paint them and show you them painted, because you won't gain a true appreciation or an understanding of the printing technology, the STL files, or the miniatures themselves and how they'll look on the tabletop until all of those things are done. It's not a fair review. Anyway, there's not actually much more planned for this Epic Force. This is probably 4,000 points off the top of my head. I think it's like 400 points for just 3 of these alone. That's 1, 2, and Perturalo's 3 super heavy detachments. He can take up to 4 Iron Circle, but if he does, he can't take the Tormentor. If he takes the Tormentor, he doesn't get any Iron Circle. The Land Raiders come in squadrons of 4, like I said. I've got 3 squads of 4, and because I'm Iron Warriors, I can take these as, I guess you'd call them, for people who aren't used to Epic, you essentially have like a troops or a battle line force, and for every one of those, you get a certain number of support. Support is things like tanks and artillery, and then you get a certain number of Lord of War, 1 per 2,000 points of Epic. So in this instance, I have Iron Havocs, which come in 4s, so 4 and 4 is 2 of my line choices, plus Land Raiders, which are line choices for Iron Warriors. I have 1, 2, 3 squadrons, which gives me 5. And as I'm Space Marines, I'm entitled to up to 3 support for every 1 of those. So I could take 15 support choices, such as 4 Vindicators, 4 Vindicators, 2 squads of 3 Vindicators, 1 unit of 6 Basilisks. You're only allowed 1 artillery option, and it's normally 4 Medusas, 4 Basilisks, or 4 Whirlwinds. But as I'm Iron Warriors, it actually upgrades to 6 Whirlwinds, but I'm only still allowed the 1 unit. So spend wisely. Of course, the 2 squads of 3 Typhons, and of course the Aquator Bombards up the back, which probably not going to run, and they also have been slightly upscaled to an 8mm scale. Don't know that I'm super happy with them at the 8mm. I thought they would be better, but because the rest of the force is still in 6mm, they're just a bit big when you put them next to the Land Raiders. So, might reprint those. Anyway, I'm also going to throw in some bonus here now. I'm going to do some Titanicus, so I'll cut away. I'll come back in a moment and we'll talk some Titanicus stuff. Alright, and we're back, and geez, you can barely fit them in the frame even. So, Titanicus. Well, the first thing I'll do is I'll show you some scale for perspective. Individual Space Marine on Warhound base. If I can stand him up. And we'll then put that single Space Marine onto the War Master's base. Probably a little bit too short a Space Marine to do anything too crazy with. So, and for a second look, one of those Vindicators from earlier in the video on the base right there. And to give you some more perspective on size, that's what we're talking about. So, a huge model. Okay, so Titanicus, Legio Titanicus. I decided to do Legio Tritonous. I like the idea of black shields, and these guys were traitors to their own Forge World and their own kin. Now, Tritonous has a very, like a dark grey scheme. I've gone for more of a green, like a Sons of Horus sea green, to try and break up that really dark grey. And although there are greys mixed in with the green, I've still very much erred towards the green. And I've ended up with this almost pseudo Death Guard sort of look to them. What's a brown, cream, and green. I don't know if that was the original intent, but it's how it's turned out. So I guess it's here to stay at this point. So, let's go through these one by one. So my first thing I did was, because they were sort of semi-traitorous, I've gone for an abominable intelligence sort of thing. So I've made a Hell 9000 type eye, for those who know 2001 A Space Odyssey, and I've done that across all of the Titans using searchlights off the Imperial Guard. So you get on the little guys, the Warhounds, the Reavers, we've got on the Nemesis Warbringer, Warlord, and of course on the War Master. Did this Legion have a War Master? No. No, I do not believe they had a War Master in this Legio, but now they do. So, basing. These aren't fully based yet. There will be weathering pigments applied to the bases that will really add some very strong coloration to them. This is my preparation layer that's on there now, and it does the job. So still consider these a work in progress, especially because I haven't finished the work with the decals yet, which you can see on the hull here. Both the Warhounds, I've gone for the Inferno cannons and the Plasma Blast guns to mix it up, basically. I do think they're both decent weapons. They're more night killers. And some Forge World barriers on the bases, the terrain. On this one, though, that's actually an FDM print of an Ender 3 of a landing pad. I just gave it a few layers of filler primer, and you can't even tell that's off a filament printer. It came up fantastic. So excellent basing material right there. I've used some more of those Forge World bits, such as the crushed shipping container terrain from Forge World under this guy. All arms are magnetized, so easier to rearm them, move things. You can see the outline of the decal if I hold it in the light, because I haven't finished matting them off yet. These are custom Tritonous decals. I had a friend make them up for me, who I won't name, because I don't want them to get into any strife. So this guy here is more of a Titan hunter, armed very much for it. And you can see with the patterning on the knee, I've done a by hand painted in all these checkers all along the kneecap, and then put a Tritonous trident icon across that. And another one up on top of the hull and on the weapon. These will get banners made eventually, so that's pretty neat. The Nemesis Warbringer, not a Titan that really stood out to me in the past, but I've grown to kind of like it. So kept a lot of that same iconography, the same marbling technique over the shoulder plates, magnetized all the little AA defense guns as well, which allows you to do some pretty hilarious shenanigans, like take the turret off and then put on, say, the guns, Vulcan Mega Bolters up on top. That would turn this into an absolutely terrifying mech. So let's not do that. But no, this guy again, very Titan kill heavy. So he has the long ranged Quake cannon on top, and then the Volcano cannon and the Inferno cannon, the blaster, big fusion gun thing on the side there, which I'm forgetting the name of all of a sudden, bad macker. Marble knee pad and sort of striped iconography to break it up, and he will also get a war banner or several later on. Then we get to the Warlord. So the Warlord, more of this Titanicus terrain. We have like little generator stations that he's crushing under his feet, which again, weathering powders will really pick those out. You can see some of the very soft source lighting I've done, sort of a pink and apricot tone. Yeah, just to add some sort of thermal something to the exhaust, because they just felt so plain when they were just metallic, and I have the same effect going on up in here. Same decal pattern, same marbling effect on the armor plates, and I've gone for a Dakka Beast with the Macro Gatling Blasters and the Vulcan Mega Bolters. This guy will strip shields like you wouldn't believe. And then we get to a model which I bought from England, and it cost me, even with exorbitant shipping, less than if I had bought it directly in Australia, which hurts on a fundamental level. But this big guy here was fun to build. I wasn't the biggest fan of the model when it first dropped, but I'm growing to like it. I've magnetized the arms on, which I'll pull off now. So big plasma, lots of burnishing around the barrel tips. I think I need to bring it up a couple of, contrast that plasma a lot more. It's just too rich and deeper blue at the moment. But you can see I've kept the same striping pattern on one side, plain on the other, just trying to keep the unified theme throughout the army. On the back here, this has been glued in, so I won't be able to replace it with the upgraded option that comes on that new close combat variant. But he has little Tritonis earrings hanging on the sides here. Marbling all down the belt buckle, marbling across the leg. These were done with, I actually did a couple of different techniques on this force. I did steel wool on most of them, and I did dry baby wipes on this guy for something different. It's a really cool marble effect. And up on the shoulders, we got some big Legio Tritonous and some custom wording that I had added to the decal sheets. And of course, all marbled green and magnetized, movable weapons. The same source lighting, which still not quite rich enough. I need to give it, I think a little bit of maybe magenta ink to really make it pop. These things here come loose all the time as well, by the way. Terrible model part, too little holding it. Same with these front ones here, same issue. But yeah, carrying that unified look through, and on top of the shoulder pads I also have some more of those Tritonous and Mechanicum symbology, and he will also get some pretty cool nifty war banners as well. So still a work in progress, definitely good enough I think for the tabletop, but that's been a fun little side project while everyone's being locked down. I pumped all these out, and it only took me I think 3 weeks, just a couple hours a night to build and paint the whole lot of them, which was, yeah, time well spent. And some more of those glowing effects and such I did in the engines. And you can see I've used a lot of varied metallic tones over the miniature. I poured a little bit of resin into the back here to try and fill in the mold lines that exist in the plastic kit. So yeah, pretty cool. Overall, really happy with how they've turned out. They're grim, they're dirty, but I've never even played a game of Titanicus, so I understand roughly how to play it, but I haven't done it. Anyway, that is my Epic and my Titanicus, which, funny enough, the two go hand in hand. You can play many of these models in games of Epic. It's nowhere near as complex as Titanicus. Epic is very, what you'd call dumbed down in comparison. But that's a good thing, because Epic is designed to do large-scale battles, as opposed to 40k and 30k, which are more for sort of skirmish-level battles. No more than, say, one company versus another company, if that. 40k is more like a single part of a company, like a third of a company. I've seen epic battles that take 12 hours because there's hundreds of models on the table, and it's really cool. The next hobby video you get, like I said, will be on some basing techniques. I might do some on these Titans, but I'm definitely going to make some of these desert style bases, like I've done on this one-page rules miniature right here. If you want to know more about these miniatures, go on to My Mini Factory and just look up one-page rules and see some cool stuff they got there. You'll definitely see more in a few weeks when I finally do my review on them. That's all for me. I'm Mac with the Outer Circle. Thank you all for watching, and comments below. See you all next time.